So yeah, quickly, our investment focus is across a lot of the industry sectors, very, very broad as an early stage fund. So yeah, happy to talk in more details.
So hey everyone, my name is Frederick Salk. For convenience purposes, just call me Freddy. It's a German first name, so just Freddy is fine. I'm actually heading the German accelerator, so I'm not too much on the investment side, but more on the incubation accelerator side. And what we're doing, we're a tech accelerator in the US, in Silicon Valley and New York. And we bring over German startups, German technology startups to Silicon Valley / New York and help them, become setting a foot into the US market. We run a mentor program, so we work with 50 to 60 mentors that are all specialists, that are serial entrepreneurs, and we match them with our startups. And from this relationship, our startups obviously gain a whole lot of benefit and a whole lot of experience that the mentors share. And therewith, they start acquiring customers and partners here in the valley.
So it sounds like we got a lot of diversity. We have incubator, angel fund, VC fund, mutual fund, and angel fund. I would like to spend a little bit more minutes about for each of you to talk about how is your fund or incubator related to or involved in international cross-border transactions, or how your portfolio companies get cross-border or international. You can talk about this from your LPs, investors, or your portfolio companies, or whatever you see associated with your fund or incubators, whoever wants to get first.
GSR.
GSR are actually pretty diverse from that perspective. So we have about $4 billion under management for 5 funds. And most of our LPs are actually US institutional endowments, fund-to-fund, but our focus, our mandate is actually China. So we can't really do a lot in the US. So we do see, and in fact, we have a little collaboration with TEEC doing, we see the dozens of little companies, but mostly we're using that opportunity to learn what's working in the US and then take that concept to China, right? We kind of try to remove the market risk by knowing what the market opportunity is. And our first investment, in fact, was very much in that principle 10 years ago when we invested in a company called TEEC, which is Bloomberg of China. We took the market risk out because China didn't have something like a Bloomberg, and we found the best team, best company, and then invested in that. The fairly recent company that we did is DD Taxi, which we took the same principle, right? Uber was only maybe 5 months old, maybe 9 months, when we actually invested in DD Taxi, which was only worth, at the time, $8 million before even they had their services yet. But we were convinced that market opportunity based on what we observed in the US, and then we kind of took the risk, and we owned 37% at the time, and then ultimately, 5 years later, the company is worth $40 billion, much like the Uber here. Right, so we take a lot of similar concept, but occasionally we'll take cross-border opportunities. So for example, we were looking for battery technology a few years ago. We wholesale took a company called Boston Power from Boston, literally moved everybody and the technology to Beijing. And then ultimately those batteries have now become part of the infrastructure for a lot of the EV for trucks in China. But most of the the transfer in terms of knowledge is really about knowledge, it's about insights rather than direct business collaboration between the two countries.
Okay, so we add a few points. So our process in the last 6.5 years, the cross-border model is also evolving. For example, exactly 7 years ago, during this competition, there's a company called PowerMap. So they do indoor map. That was the starting point. time was just the U.S. team go back to China quickly. Going forward for us as a fund, we see more opportunity, like a U.S. technology and play into China market. I think that will be a very important focus for us. And just like Jack mentioned, the Boston Power Company in the U.S. technology and apply, moving back to China is applied to the big market. So we'll play a bigger role in that focus very early to connect with the China market side as a fund. It's also from our next fund, from 4, we'll have a far more focus to in this area, U.S. technology and China market.
For us at the German Accelerator, obviously cross-border is the core of our success, right? I mean, that's why we set up the Accelerator. The Accelerator really represents, or is a bridge between what is strong, what our strengths are in Germany, which is great technology, right? We have great engineers. That's, I guess, what Germany is well known for. But we are lacking in a way this scalability, the opportunity to scale on a global level, right? And this is what we find is obviously here in Silicon Valley, and a lot of people, a lot of startups do this here on a daily basis, right? They have this experience, and this is why we thought from the German Accelerator, building this bridge and giving and joining or merging German technology with the capacity of scaling here in Silicon Valley is the key to create a new SAP, for example. You know, SAP is one of the German technology startup companies, but after SAP, not many more German companies, you know, raised to a global level or to a global importance. And this is really our mission. This is really what we want to change with the Accelerator. We want to help young, ambitious startups from Germany that have great technology and help them scale here in the US, here in the Valley, through the methods that the Valley can provide and through the experience that the Valley can provide.
Yeah. I think cross-border is a very sensitive issue now. It's very difficult now. A year ago, I was in charge with our company mission to open a U.S. operation, and at that time, you know, the idea was to move, you know, take all the capital out of China to invest in U.S., either in U.S. companies or real estate or, you know, technology companies. And you know, Beijing is the second largest capital, VC capital in the world. So there's so much capital in China. But most of the times, people view actually Silicon Valley has a very decent, reasonable valuation. You know, Chinese startup company had command much higher multiples, and so it's you know, great deal to capital move from China to U.S. But now, you know, Chinese government, because of the currency concern, the capital control is very strong. So it's a very big challenge for, you know, capital movement. But you know, people can move. So you know, you can move to China and establish companies in Beijing, you know, Shanghai, and over there you got much, you know, abundant money available if you can successfully find you know, applicable technology, you know, solution in Chinese market. So that's one way to do cross-border, not necessarily involve capital, but involve, you know, talent, idea, and people. As a company, we, you know, move way beyond, you know, typical mutual fund, public market investing. We aggressively moving to, you know, PE and VC. We actually founded a company called TEEC Cup in China, which is one of the quite successful technology incubator. We also, as a company, you know, focus on technology and science investing. So biotech. You know, we also invest in early company, evaluate IP value of any, you know, of any patent filed. So we put money into that company, and hopefully using that system can really give us, idea about the true value of certain patents, so we can fund it accordingly. So those are things we are working on. But for short-term period, I think moving money out of China will be a huge challenge.
As of now, most of the SVC Angel LP are Chinese governments and some big private companies. And our focus is that we try to, especially we have a very good relationship with China's government. So we try to find very good, have high potential companies in local companies in intelligence industry. And we try to introduce these companies first. Either they want to start a business in China, or they want to have the Chinese market. They want to do some business with the Chinese market. So basically, that is why SVC Angel does business. And also compare with China market, and also, the VC industry, compare with China and US. And I noticed that in China, more business is about more startups. They are business driven. Compared with Silicon Valley, compared with the US, it's more like technology driven. And secondly, I think that here, just like Harry mentioned, that I think the valuation is a little bit more decent here compared with in China. Because right now, especially these years, I feel like the valuation is a little bit crazy in China for some industry, for some companies. So that's why I think we are here, and we have some very good relationship in China. So, and also, as everybody can see, that the cross-border opportunity is huge. So that's why we're here. And I think as of now, we did good. We did well, and I think this industry, this business will still have huge potential in the next few years. So that's my idea.
Yeah, so cross-border truly seems ubiquitous. Jack's fund takes the money from the US LPs and investing in China quality companies like DD. Eugene's fund / incubator takes the money LPs from the US, but looking for importing or exporting technology into China, leveraging the market, the big consumer base over there. Freddie, your incubator is helping European American here to build companies like SAP, the next SAP in the US, taking advantage of the innovation, the entrepreneurship in Silicon Valley. And I also heard from Harry that you definitely have the potential to invest more into technology companies in Silicon Valley. Same as Christie, money from a state-owned or sovereign fund from China, but invest in Silicon Valley. So for those of you who know me already, I am an attorney. I do a lot of cross-border transactions, and I didn't start my career by doing cross-border transactions, but now I spend most of my time doing cross-borders, and primarily US and China related. And for Silicon Valley, a lot of capital injection from China into Silicon Valley, the funds in Silicon Valley, I formed a lot of them, and I also represent investors from China or buyers from China coming to US, doing shopping spree for those technology companies. So it is truly ubiquitous, and nobody can avoid it nowadays. But as some of the panelists already mentioned, a lot of challenges, right? As a lawyer, I deal with CFIUS issues most of the time. CFIUS stands for the committee. It's a White House committee. The major function is to block, screen investments from foreigners, and apparently China has been the #1 country that CFIUS is looking out for. Also, on the China side, the Xi administration tightened the regulation on money exchange, so the scrutiny over converting RMB into US dollar has been heightened and probably almost every one of us learns how difficult it is to get the money out of China. So the next question I would like to get every panelist involved in is what kind of challenges have you seen, especially in the Trump administration, which is a few days away from us. So we don't need to be politically correct. Whatever you want to say, whatever you want to envision or predict, what lies ahead for your fund or incubator in terms of the challenges and how you're going to deal with it? Or is there a way for you to be able to face the challenges?
Volunteer first. It's actually a little bit a positive for us. I'll tell you why. Because the CFIs, right, they look at a transaction buying the company when it's very big, and then China company buy U.S. companies. When that stopped, why it's good news for us? I don't think U.S. company would control who would invest in a 3 people startup. Do you think so? U.S. government would get his hands into this? I don't think so. So far, I'm optimistic. So it's still a free world that everybody can invest, putting money into the early stage companies, right? So that's yeah. But I totally agree. Yeah, the foreign exchange problem, all that is quite a severe. But for early stage, it's not a. So it's, I think it's still room is still open. Door is still open. You can put money into the early stage stuff anyway. Right? When you're investing, nobody asks, oh, this person is a foreign or it's from Europe or China or US. It's not a that kind of sensitive issue. I hope that is stay in this way. So yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with Eugene. I think for early stage company, I think we're going to be fly under the radar. GSR was funded in 2005 when the 2 countries, US and China, were fairly isolated from each other from a technology perspective, from major business perspective. And that's why we had the crystal ball to see one country's market opportunity from another, right? And in the last few years, things have got a lot closer. When I mentioned Dazhihui versus Bloomberg, it was like 12 years apart. When we invested in Qunar, it was about 6-7 years apart from the funding of the 2 companies. Most recent companies, they're very, very similar. To get so close, it's actually harder to play that kind of strategy for us. But now, who knows what Trump will do? It's but assuming that he will do some of what he says, and that I think creates opportunity for us to play the 2 markets separately. I think China is a market by itself. There's just no question about it. It's not going to integrate well with the rest of the world, but by itself is so huge. So there is a market opportunity by itself. So investing in that market, leveraging German technology, leveraging U.S. Insights to the market opportunity is going to continue to play well. I think the China capital is a big source of capital for Silicon Valley technology development. It's much easier to get Chinese to fund something in the last couple of years than actually getting Sangyo Road to fund you. But I don't know how, maybe Henry has some insights on how to get large amount of money out since he's in charge of that. So I think there's always bright side of the new administration.
I think it's very hard. So that's why I quit my position as an international head, and so I pretty much isolated back in Beijing and travel on a personal basis back and forth between Beijing and Silicon Valley, moving large sum of money. Actually we were the only source of special treatment. Like our company gets $3 billion quotas from SAFE, which is the Foreign and Nutrition Administration. So can move that much money if you prove your money is legally earned in China. So we have like $3 billion quota could move. So we established so many entities trying to quickly move out, and then quickly, Chinese government say, hey, you cannot do it. So we only finished about $1 billion quota, and then they took it back. So nowadays, it's, everything is on a very trickling basis. So there's no really way to move big sum of money from China to US. But I would still think with Trump, as a new president, if America pursue a more isolated policy, many of the Chinese government will respond by taking out the American companies or other technology will move out of China. So you have lots of vacancy there as a business opportunity. And a few years ago, the big IOE type of so you can grow in China, grow lots of similar business to take over on the banking side, on the larger scale, more government sensitive project. So you'll be able to do a lot of to be business, and not necessarily consumer business, but to be business is very good because people, Chinese government want to remove dependency on U.S. technology platform. So if that's the case, if things getting more isolated, you create vacancies, can create opportunities, and that's another that's what when I can look back, I can hedge both. Right? Sometimes you can have things invest in Silicon Valley, but let's move Silicon Valley people and technology, the idea to China and to replace, like Oracle, to replace big, but Baidu is a perfect example. So it basically, take over, the Google's market share. So I think that's probably going to be some opportunity there. As an entrepreneur, don't be too pessimistic. When situation come, you have to adapt, and that's what I think that would be the case.
Yeah, I think two ways. I also feel like two challenges in the cross-border business, cross-border investment. Like when we move the money from China to US, like as everybody else already mentioned, it's really difficult. And I feel that vividly because like 2 or 3 months ago, I just helped one of my LPs move some money from China to US. Not a huge amount, but still, it's still very difficult. And just 1 month ago, I think maybe a few days back, I think the regulation bar even increased. So I think that part is really difficult, even though I think it's really hard to get approval for the money transfer. And the other way, when we introduce some company go back to China, and the way to do business is a little bit different. So that's another challenge, because we always try to help some startups go back to China, and but how I think that's a culture difference. So sometimes a little bit hard for startups to do the business in China. So I think that's basically two challenges I feel.
Quick add some possibilities. One situation is if you are a technology company. For example, one company we invest in called Quantities, doing either G1 radar. They quickly right away become a way over $1 billion company. But they can sell to you China market. That's okay. So as a component provider, I work with the company. So that's still angle that's still open for U.S. company
sounds like everybody is remains optimistic, and I think me too, because in terms of the deal flow, my team is very busy, was very busy toward the end of last year, and when we step into the new year, the deal flow is just crazy, and it's more than we can handle. So, although I think we should have a separate panel to discuss how to get the RMB out of China into the U.S. But everything else, it's crazy, right? So I'm going to ask one last question, and then I will just handle my microphone to the audience, whatever question you want to have for the panel. For those of you who just came back from CES, even for some of the panelists, I think the three very obvious, the CES have three themes, AI, VR, and self-driving cars. How are these themes related to your fund or incubator? What are you going to do about it? Or in terms of this trend set by CES for the new year, how are you going to adapt your fund for such a trend?
Maybe let me start here from the German perspective, since we have a lot of car manufacturers in Germany, right? It's actually been a pretty big topic already in Germany for a long time, right? So now this hype around CES, it's been a topic also in the Valley for a long time, right? So we already have a lot of applicants to our program and startups in our incubator or accelerator that deal with those kind of problems around AI and around automotive. So that gives us a pretty good position right now to introduce those startups to local car manufacturers and also help because the fun thing is our German car manufacturers, they have to come to Silicon Valley to meet our startups that are coming from Germany to Silicon Valley as well. So they all meet in the Valley, they would never meet in Germany. Why? Because the German system is a bit, it's a bit slow. It's very old in a way, right? I mean, it takes a lot of time for a startup to really get to some person that has a say, really, that is really valuable to you as a startup in this corporation. So it could be months and months until you talk to someone, right? And so the German car manufacturers also come here and love our startups because they are dealing with the most up-to-date topics.
Maybe you should get more Chinese investors meet German entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley.
We have a demo day every quarter, so please come on by.
I think that there are a lot of opportunities, very hot, just like a little bit lucky for the company I mentioned because it's the bigger wave. We invested in Ecology exactly 4 years ago, but right now it's so crazy, investors coming in, mainly from China, push the valuation to way over $800 bar is much higher, and many areas, it's opportunity for startup. Actually, it's very good, not a good. But we have to pick what is the thing that especially our early investor, what kind of company we can support and make it successful. So those are a lot of excitement, AI, a lot of definite opportunities, but also a lot of hard work for investors. The investors, I think, right now working harder, not less harder than entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I probably have a very different perspective than CES. So first of all, I mean, AI has been around for a long time. So all the technology company that I know, that I started at all parts of AI. So that's really just the technology. I think the key is what kind of problem do you try to solve? What kind of industry you're trying to disrupt? That application is a lot more important than actually every company has AI, right? Airbnb has AI, Uber has it, DiDi Taxi has AI. So that's not really something terribly new. I completely agree with Eugene on the self-driving technology. In fact, GSR invested a company in China, but this is really a winner-takes-all kind of a play, and it's already got, Google car has been driving in my neighborhood for 7-8 years, right? And the auto self-driving and Tesla have demonstrated the fully automatic level 4, at least, in their every production car that's to be turned on. So it's kind of hard for new startups. There are several in this conference that's trying to build self-driving. It's going to be very, very difficult because the capital intensity requirement and the 100% reliable requirement and the amount of tests you have to do and the reputation. There's only a few buyers, German automakers and the Detroit automakers. They're all actually in Silicon Valley. They all right here. All the autonomous driving divisions are here, not in Detroit or maybe even Germany, I don't know. And so they see the same thing, right? There's three or four good technology companies self-driving, and ultimately probably going to down to 1 or 2, and that's it. And that's going to be very difficult for anybody else to play in that.
3 areas. They're all very interesting I think for Chinese perspective. Autonomous driving, if you ever drive in Beijing or in China, in my opinion, everybody should be replaced by autonomous driving. You have so many bad drivers out there, and with autonomous driving, everything in China will be much better, like traffic congestion, and obviously, Chinese government are very aggressively trying to move on in the AI area as well. This is one of the strategic, high point. Before it was the internet, it moved out quickly. So you see big, Chinese internet companies. In the AI area, this is one. Chinese people are very quick learners. I actually renamed my center, my business unit, as artificial intelligence in investment research. So I have 3 divisions: research, management, and academic research. It's all focused on how do you use AI to place bets in the stock and bond market. So Chinese people are very quick to learn. This require very intellectual intensity area. So you'll see huge opportunity there. And regarding VR and AR, at least I think the Chinese markets not necessarily will move very quickly in technology and hardware design, but the market is huge. Some of the last year, I think the end of last year, Wang Fei is she's the female, very famous singer, already used more than like 20 million users to sign up her VR presentation of the stage and charge. I think everyone charge about 20 broadcasting in China is a huge phenomenon growth.
That's probably one of the reasons why so many people were not happy about the Wang Fei concert these days.
So, and the bandwidth, expansion and the cloud build up there in China is just phenomenal. So this direct kind of broadcasting is much more successful business model in China than US, and I think they'll move very quickly to VR. So from a consumer perspective, you'll see much more paid watch, paid subscription for a VR show or things. That will pose great opportunity for everyone.
Just to add a short point to previous panelists. So for AI, yeah, just like prior panelists mentioned, maybe that is a new term, but that is not a new thing. And I think most of the startups, they have AI idea, and even from many years ago. So AI I think when we see the startup, I think most of the companies, they have AI. And for VR, I feel like a lot of startups, they are doing VR, since VR is so hot these days, no matter in China or in US. But my feeling is that a lot of people, they are doing VR, but by the end of the day, only a few companies, they can survive. Even though the market is huge, I myself still need some time to see what the angle or how to do the business in this industry. Thanks.
It's also ubiquitous, right? And even law firms like us, we have AI team. We do regular calls about the trend and what's happening in the AI industry. But one thing I'm sure, I totally agree with Jack said, AI is not new. One of my closest friends, we were talking about AI yesterday, and he said, AI, that was what we researched upon more than 20 years ago when I was at the college in China. At that time, we didn't call it AI, we called it artificial neural network. So it's really not new. Okay, so next I'm gonna hand my microphone to the audience. Whatever we haven't covered but interests you, feel free to ask a question.
Thank you, expert panel. Very good presentations. Thank you for the good moderation. I'm KRS Murthy. There are three separate aspects in virtual reality. I want to point that and ask the expert questions. There is virtual reality, and I also have written what's called virtual unreality. And there it is the device that you wear is one part, the camera, that is the second part, and most importantly, creating content. That is the most expensive, most difficult, animated, or not just take a camera and go around, virtual reality. If virtual reality content is not there, then market is not there. So any comment on that, I've gone to many of them, everyone is making devices. China has a high potential to create a lot of content, consumable within China, it's a very big market, and international. It's like making movies, making animation, that's what the difference. What is your perspective as investors?
Yeah, I've seen a couple companies in trying to make content, make literally short films in VR. But the ultimate problem right now is there's just no known business models. Everyone is trying, but they're now selling. Its production cost is very high to make these VR movies. People, for novelty purpose, people watch a little bit and then they quickly move on. So it just really, I'm not even sure that it is a big market yet, right? It may potentially become a big market, but right now, no one has figured that out. I think anybody can figure it out, probably in China, given the density of people, and something's gonna happen. That's kind of my view, I agree with you.
Just a quick word, I tried went to Samsung, a few, VR goggle companies, I tried. The experience is still, it's the same, the resolution of that. So it's, it feels.
From the device.
Yeah, so we we have a long way, still long way.
Yeah, much prefer to watch my 4K movies than actually. Yeah.
So I think you agree, the content is the king. And it's
and it's a chicken and egg problem. There's not a known market to someone to put millions of dollars to put high quality content.
Thank you. It's very honored to hear from all of you and learn from you. I actually have two questions. First of all, other than the very hot VR, AI industry, what do you think next opportunity might be in China? What do you think of sustainable management, like environment protection type of industry booming up? Will it be booming up in the next 5-10 years? This is first. And second question is because I'm an individual investor, which means I'm like a very typical immigrants in US right now. So for my family, we have some money. Compared with your company, it's like little money, but we have a lot of this type of people living here, and we have some money we want to invest and involved in the booming opportunity in China. But we try to invest in real estate in China. We try to do this and that. It's very hard, and I haven't found any other opportunity I can give my money to someone and help me, make more money. So be a good individual investor. Is there any crowdfunding for your company to accept the money like us? Or what's your suggestion for someone, a lot of thousands of people like us in the area or in Silicon Valley?
In terms of investment opportunity, in both in China and the U.S., I think I continue to believe the technology is ready to pretty much disrupt every single industry. So whatever industry that you're familiar with that has not been fundamentally disrupted, and it will be disrupted, right? That's kind of the opportunity for Silicon Valley. And we know e-commerce has been doing it for a while. I mean, most recently you heard Macy's, Sears, closing like crazy. This is after people are predicting e-commerce is going to take over for 20 years now, right? And it's continued to disrupt. I think in the U.S., one of the biggest industry that has not been fundamentally disrupted is the financial services, right? And that there's a lot of opportunity. There's a peripheral technology, whether it's Stripe, PayPal, a lot of around payments, but the fundamental banking, the fundamental payment systems, and are yet to be disrupted. In the U.S., in China, actually, there's more opportunity because there's more dispersed businesses. For example, one of the very recent company that has just got a lot of funding, 2 years old company, $150 million funding for disrupting trucking industry in China, right? There's 2 million trucks in the U.S. In China. That's all mom and pop small businesses, right? And then so someone create an Uber-like technology or Didi-like technology, and then can organize all the logistic operation of these shipping companies. And that it's harder to do in the U.S. because U.S. is so consolidated with FedEx, UPS, and pretty much 90% of the businesses belong to them. When you have in China, you have the first tier city, second tier city, third tier city, first tier city. There's just so many layers of opportunity when things are so. Couple company that I'm very familiar with, Melisho, they can both occupy just a slice of fashion industry, right? Mogujie was about college students, between 20 to 24 years old, and then Melisho was 24 to 28. Just after college, there's another segment for the second tier cities, and ultimately they just merged, a year ago. But those kind of opportunity does not exist in the U.S. Crowdfunding, I think Eugene probably has a better idea.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think the early stage investment is risky. We've been operating for 6.5 years. We were really lucky, especially with early stage Jack supporting us, be a part of it. So our fund, first fund this year will be 叫丰收年 after exactly 6 years. Yeah, with called 逆向创新, just like reverse. It's not reverse engineering. It's a design thinking in U.S. like Stanford D School using design to guide your thinking. And another buzzword I think we can call it VC 4.0. So VC 3.0, quickly 1.0 is something like you invest only in your friends because that's in the bet on this person. And then 2.0 in the 90s was professionally fund, right? But VC is dominant. By the time the 3.0, it's Andreessen Horowitz. They provide not only money but also service in 7 areas, providing service for you. But with all this incubation, all that investment, so many companies chasing this market, although it's growing, but I don't think it has room for everyone. Look at the startup, so many of them right now, everywhere, right? Of course, investors are everywhere also. Okay? So to be a good investor right now, money is only just a piece of it. Everybody needs to provide far more than resources than money only. So for us, I think to compete with Korea, for example, it's still we have to be honest. Like their resource, calling someone an EVP at Cisco, someone Google, that capability is far more stronger than our small fund. But we have that's why I mentioned China resource. We provide a company, U.S. technology company, with the market opportunity, which is unique to our fund, for example. And then so we tie that resource. My partner actually Chen is sitting in the back, so he's leading the Tsinghua Daxue called 逆向创新 the thinking, basically to get China bigger companies need demand there, and then we systematically bridge the two. We're going to starting from this year and see how it goes. That's our kind of thesis, to bridge the two, bring opportunities and more real opportunity and resource to the company we invest. Not only money, not only 300K or 500K. That's our approach.
To echo your question and comments, I think it was really a very good investment if you did invest in China real estate in Beijing, Shanghai, or Guangzhou in past 5 years. And I think maybe the IRR is higher than 30%, probably it's already a big 90% of the venture capital. So yeah, so you didn't need to invest in another VC if you did that. I wish I did that, but I didn't. So, and talking about the industry, I myself, since my background is in finance, so I really think fintech will have huge potential, no matter in China, in US, in the whole world. Very simple reason for that, because finance service industry is so close to the money. It's the closest to the money, so there's a huge opportunity there. But have to say, it's super difficult to pick up the right company, even more difficult in China, because a lot of startups, they're doing that. And different way, but still very difficult to pick.
I don't even know why you have the second question. I mean, you have so many ways to do your wealth management, and especially in Silicon Valley, you have a lot easier, more abundant access to quality companies and quality VCs. So make friends with those guys, and so you can invest in their funds or their portfolio companies.
I learned it. Thank you.
I have a question for the panelists. Thanks for the great discussion here. And I think the topic today is cross-border, which is kind of a hot topic today. My question to the panel is, consider two very different markets in China and US, and which stage of the startup will be more feasible or have higher chance of success to take the cross-border opportunity, and what kind of opportunity, execution or planning they should take. In my opinion, to cut their costs or expand their sales will be the two ultimate goal, but what kind of approach they should take to be able to take advantage of that. Thanks.
Yeah, I think cross-border is very difficult for small companies. Generally, we don't believe startups, from a business perspective, should be cross-bordering. They should be focused on one market. And they should be focused on either you are a Chinese company focused on China market, or a US company focused on US market. However, you can leverage ideas, right? The insights, market opportunity insights. You can certainly leverage technology cross-border. You can leverage funding. You can also leverage in R&D, right? So a US company can certainly have a China R&D division and vice versa. So those are definitely, and then manufacturing if you are in the hardware business. So those cross-border is fine. But in terms of market you're going after, we absolutely believe you should only focus on one market. If you're startups and doing China market and US market, will probably automatically not invest in that company.
So I got a question for you, Mr. Yu. So as a early stage founder, what are you looking for specifically for a team of the startup? And what makes you worry and decide to invest?
Just me?
Yeah.
So the criteria, okay, so that's, okay, okay. So usually it's three things. Usually, so of course the first thing, I think Jack can probably agree, but first is the team. Early stage, because you don't have financials, it's the team, the people. The early stage, it's really about the people. So the 团队, we are looking for, certain things like you have to commit full time. You need to have a team, a few people, not only one person, right, typically. So to be, as a starting point. And then second is the market potential, right? It's subjective whether the investment team look this is promising or a market with potentials. If your business it has a technology angle, right? Not all the business has it's technology centric. Sometimes it's business model. But if your business happen to be a technology driven company, then we need to look at the IPs, the technology barrier. Who are you? What's unique about your team? What technology, the people behind this is how it differentiates. That's typically the best things.
I'll go next. Thanks very much for the sharing. So my question is really about the bias and ethics going into AI, and what's your thoughts, especially in terms of investment, and whether you take any actions right now to evaluate your investment, and next step is what kind of actions you take. We all heard about the fake news or using AI to generate unforeseeable outcomes. So just want to hear your insights and your thoughts on that, because AI is built by people, so that's biased. So thanks.
I think I mentioned that we don't invest a company, with a label AI. AI is just a piece of technology that almost every technology company needs, right? It's just like you need servers, you need all the other stuff. You need lawyer too. And so we would never invest a company say, we are an AI company. That's just happened to be the buzzword. I mean, this happens every few years. There's a new buzzword coming up, right? In Silicon Valley, that's just been. So that I think that's just misleading. What business problem you're trying to solve, how large is that business opportunity? That's what we care.
You have mentioned about the protectionism on both sides, but then later on you guys didn't further elaborate about this. Can you right now explain more about right now the difficulties coming and the protectionism in US and China also, like the policies or what?
Well, I think I just take a few examples. Obviously, protectionism is on the rise. For example, Chinese capital want to invest in U.S. company, you got CFIUS blockage, and so certainly that's not very friendly to certain capital. at the same time, right now you see it's very hard for American companies to do business in China. You got a lot of not only local competitions, but preference from government procurements to eliminate foreign companies to do certain area in certain business, certain area. It's a lot more obviously because they want Chinese technology replacement. So those things, protectionism, not necessarily bad for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs always can find market opportunities.
I think that there's just every day you can read the news and there's new protectionism on the rise. Yesterday, I think Ford decided now to build that factory in Mexico. And so there will be more. I'm not sure whether Germany has any kind of populism and protectionism on the rise, but it's kind of unfortunately, we're living in a world that everything is going reverse. In terms of the globalization, the trend is the opposite of that. So don't know how long this will last, but we have to live in the new world and we have to deal with, as business people, we have to figure out a way to do well, even when the situation, the macro situation changes.
Thank you all, and I learned a lot. I recently transitioned from the corporate world to the investment world, and it's really an eye-opening to see so much money coming from China. And just now, I think one of the panelists mentioned, because investing in China, basically the valuation of the Chinese company is much higher than the US company. I would like to really have somebody can explain why the valuation of Chinese companies is higher than in the US. This is my first question. And second question is, most of you doing cross-border investment, and many of you successful entrepreneurs in the US and then go back to China. And how do you see the startup company from both ends, from China and in the United States? What's the comparison between the two sides in terms of technology team and the capability to go global? Thank you. These two questions I have.
I can answer the first question. I think the situation really is a supply-demand thing. China, the density of entrepreneurs, especially in Beijing, right, and the density of investors are much, much higher than the U.S. We talk about every few years. We talk about 全民做创业, everybody 做 PE, 对吧? It's like how many funds are there? Everybody want to invest, and everybody thinks it's easy to invest, especially in technology companies. They think, someone has a good idea, we'll just put money in. So there's a lot of amateur investors in China that muddy the pond. So things get speed up. And our philosophy has been, we tend to really start early before the markets start to move. That's why we were able to invest in DD when DD was not even in service yet, but we really bet on the team. And that's why we were able to get $8 million of pre-money valuation, right? But if we waited for 6 months, and that company would have been 10 times more valuable because everyone just started piling on. And we did that for a lot of companies. Sometimes we were too early, and the market wasn't so. We invested a company called Qunar, which follows the Groupon model, right? Went up like Groupon, but went down like Groupon. And so you pay the price being too early. Maybe Eugene can answer the second question.
I didn't catch exactly.
Let me answer anyway, regarding the valuation, I think Jack is absolutely right about being, so much money chasing less deals, good quality deals. Another is really psychological, mass. When government said let's become a VC, country or entrepreneur country, you'll see massive amount of chasing around. And that's very typical Chinese investor mentality. So, you know, this private company is already built up very high, but look at the public companies. I mean, Chinese public companies, valuation is much, much higher than US. So you know, it's similar behavior. It's a lot more like behavior story. So how you make money in China, given this, is really like Jack said, getting there early, or build up company, just do early stage and then quickly flip. You know, like you get the angel run and then you exit out, before B run, then you make some money. And it's very easy because people can write up all these raw documents and just swapping shares. So those are exit strategies. Is great. I have a few friends doing that. Just focus on, polishing, business model, polishing the teams, and with a few 100, thousand money and RMB, you can flip to several multiples. So that's how you can make money there.
Yeah, I think it also has something to do with the fact that in China there are just less investable companies or vehicles for average people to make an investment in, right? I mean, real estate has the uncertainty in it. When invested many years ago, people did not want to get into it. What else can average people invest in China other than
Stock
the
market
stock,
happens.
right? Exactly. I think that drives up the price not only for the public company but also for private companies. That's also the reason you contribute to that.
Even stock market crashed, valuation still
That's
high.
exactly right.
It doesn't matter.
I have a question regarding cross-border investment. I think somebody there asked a question and then you answered that you'd rather see focus on market. But yet if you're looking at living in the now and what the world is heading towards, globalization or global prosperity, and something that when companies are trying to address a problem that is global, for example, if somebody is trying to fix a problem with email or something that is in a video, that is not necessarily they need to focus on a market that is in the United States only or in China that can help anybody, or even on a protocol level. So this is more like a question to you, like how to clarify what you said about focus on a certain market.
Yeah, even for like when you mention email, there will be still a very country or market specific solution, right? I mean, when we mention Google versus Baidu, they're all search. They're very, in fact, Baidu is exactly clone of Google, right? But because the various reasons, political, economical, and other cultural reasons, and China will have its own, tends to have its own solution of the same thing, right? I mean, GSR actually was founded on that principle where we can, Uber was in China, ultimately Didi bought Uber China, right? How different is taxi sharing, right? Or, but there are unique elements of the China execution makes that concept different when you execute on it. Right? When I mentioned Lasho, which is the Groupon China, we thought we'll clone everything that Groupon did in the US, but when we went to China, when the team was in China, started to execute, for example, one of the main reason they succeeded was Groupon succeeded in the US is they started a call center, right, calling the top 100 cities for the best restaurant, best Japanese restaurants, the three best, in fact, the top three Italian restaurants, to do deals. We started a call center in Beijing, right, cloning that concept, but turned out that wasn't working because China turned out was more like Europe than US. China is really not a one country culturally, language-wise, dialect-wise. So the Beijing girls calling Shanghai selling lamb was a no-no, right? The languages, people didn't understand each other, and lamb is considered to be barbarian food in Shanghai. So even we sold a lot of lamb in Shanghai, in Beijing, that food wasn't really working, right? Kind of like someone in Berlin calling Paris and try to recommend food, right? That would be probably a bad thing to do, right? So that's kind of the same phenomena that when you go into China, the same technology will be different. Even on email example, China use QQ, for example. A lot of people use QQ email, and they don't use Gmail, they don't use Yahoo email, they use very different email solutions.
True, thank you. But I was talking more about the things that they can be global, like for example, in China they still use HTTP for the web. You know, if there's a protocol that can evolve the HTTP, that will impact China eventually. So it's not something that China can choose not to use HTTP and still be on the web.
But that's just the technology, right? HTTP is not a business, right? So there's sort of certainly technology protocols. But even on that, right, you know, for the longest time, you know, China telco standard has been, you know, supporting one standard over another. And so really weaken certain kind of players because the government has a big hand on even some of the basic standards.
Thank you. So I guess you meant China vs. the world.
Yeah, China is definitely a separate market, and U.S. and Europe probably are sort of more of the global market. And depends on how U.S. play it out in the future. U.S. might become a separate market, and European maybe is a separate market. We don't know.
So I just want to quickly add that because of China, the recent reality, right, the political will of the leadership. So you see IBM, Qualcomm, they all do joint venture. You know, that's a new thing. You know, that's kind of coming out very strong. So if you your technology, for example, I agree with the Jack said in many business, yeah, you want to focus. But if you think that's a market you must go, you must have, right? So then you need to have a strong partner. Where right now it's like the joint venture coming back by very strong. You have to have. Then you have opportunity. China, the window potentially could be open. Otherwise, it's just not open. That's just the reality. Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to finish back,
Maybe
have
one
a
last
different
question.
angle to it. I have to ask questions.
One last question.
Speak now, yeah. There are thank you. There are about 400 to 500 million Chinese with disposable money, as the lady was talking about. In China, I'm not talking here, right? There's a big opportunity to do crowdfunding or some kind of angel funding where you can pool the money who want to do something other than stock market. Is that anything that you have looked at, and what's your wisdom? Is that going to work in China? And is it working? Big number population-wise, people, a lot of financially well people are there, right?
That probably Henry can actually talk about the financial regulation in China probably better. But that's very, very hard because Chinese government has a huge hand. U.S. government has a pretty big hand, but China. So yeah, crowdfunding can easily become criminal activity if you're not careful.
That's true. I think we are one of the largest, institution to collect, millions of people. We have 50 million customers, and obviously some of them with small money, some of them with large sum of money. And in China right now, not only internet finance, well, you have P2P lending is being, scrutinized very strictly. And also, if you establish a VC fund, a PE fund, or a hedge fund, the Chinese equivalent SEC is placing big hurdles on forming those financial entities. So it's very difficult to open like a fund company or